If you're a foreigner in South Africa, chances are, depending on where you live, you've probably been called at least one of these names: Makwerekwere, Magrigamba, Makula. These words, often thrown around casually or with spite, are more than just slurs. They are tools of dehumanization, labels used to separate, stereotype, and strip individuals of their dignity and identity. Behind each of these slurs lies a history of fear, ignorance, arrogance, and sometimes outright xenophobia. Words have power. They can uplift or destroy. In the South African context, terms like Makwerekwere are often used to mock the way non-South African Africans speak. It reduces a person to a sound, strange, unfamiliar, and unwelcome. It says, "You don't belong here." Magrigamba carries connotations of desperation, exile, and poverty. Makula is steeped in a legacy of stereotyping and racial tension. None of these words exist in a vacuum. They're often accompanied by discrimination, exclusion, and even violence. Being called these names doesn't happen in isolation. It's often part of a broader pattern of how foreigners are treated. Blamed for crime, scapegoated for all sorts of social problems, accused of taking jobs, denied services, or targeted in xenophobic attacks. Sometimes it's subtle. The shopkeeper who watches you a little too closely, the landlord who won't return your calls, the employer who never seems to have a vacancy anymore, the systematic discriminations in public services, in government institutions, healthcare system, policing, municipal services. And sometimes it's far more violent and terrifying. Looting, burning, beatings, and even murder. South Africa's history is complicated. A nation emerging from apartheid, still healing from the wounds of colonialism and institutional racism, with deep economic divides and high unemployment. It's in this environment of frustration and scarcity that scapegoating takes root. Foreigners, especially those from other African countries, become easy targets. It's easier to blame the outsider than to confront the systemic failures of governance, education, and economic policy. We often forget that behind every label is a human being, someone who left home for safety, opportunity, or survival. Someone who works hard, builds community, contributes to the economy, and dreams of a better future, just like anyone else. And who said that all Afrikaners are the same, that they are all conspired to behave the same, or to do the same acts of sabotage? Dehumanizing language makes it easier to justify cruelty. But when we look beyond the slurs, we see people. And people deserve respect. It starts with each of us. We can challenge these words when we hear them. We can tell different stories about foreigners, ones that highlight shared humanity, contribution, resilience, and culture. We can educate ourselves and others about where these labels come from and the damage they do. Respect isn't complicated. It starts with language, with empathy, with the courage to speak out.